Monday, May the 16th, 2010, just a few weeks ago really, was for me the perfect day. It was perfect because I got to spend the morning here with my wonderful St. Andrew's family, surrounded by love and grace. Right after church, I ran home, had a quick lunch, a very short nap, and then I headed off down the Highway 401 for Nova Scotia in order to see my daughter graduate from Mount St. Vincent, in order to take study leave time. And it was a glorious day. The sun was shining, the temperature was just right, and I went out with a feeling of exuberance and joy. Made all the better by the fact that my 20-year-old son Samuel had finished school at that point, and he said, "Dad, I'll come to Nova Scotia with you." So how could a day be more perfect or more blessed than that? As we headed east away from Toronto, I began to notice that on the overpasses crossing the 401, people were gathered. Appeared to be civilians, police officers, firefighters, emergency medical services personnel, Legion members with their flags, tractor trailers. I thought to myself, why are they gathered on that overpass? And then they were on the next and on the next. And of course, by that point, I realized that we were driving on the Highway of Heroes, and it must be one of the days when they were repatriating the mortal remains of one of the soldiers killed in Afghanistan. I turned on the radio on the CBC, and sure enough, CBC was reporting on the event. The name of the soldier was Private Kevin Mackay. He died at the age of 24. He was the 144th Canadian casualty of the war in Afghanistan. He had died 15 kilometers south of Kandahar City while he had been on a foot patrol and had stepped onto an improvised explosive device. 1 week prior to that day, May the 9th, was the last time that he had called home. You know what day that was. That was Mother's Day. He called to speak with his mother, to express his love and to say to her, "I have 6 days left to serve, and I'll be home." 4 days later, Thursday, May the 13th, he died. On May 16th, he was coming down the Highway of Heroes. We are going the other way, and I was thinking to myself, one of us is going the wrong way on the Highway of Heroes. I'm not sure if it is Private Kevin Mackay or if it is me. I was going the wrong way because, in truth, the whole nation should have been driving along behind Private Mackay. He was going the wrong way because life was finished for him. I watched ahead of me, and as we got closer and closer to CFB Trenton, the crowds on the overpasses grew larger. And finally, we saw the convoy coming towards us. 7 police cars in a great V formation, followed by a hearse, followed by funeral coaches with family members, followed by military vehicles, followed by another group of police cruisers. We pulled off to the side of the 401, as did most of the other traffic. We watched. Where I pulled off was just past an overpass, and I looked back behind me up at the overpass, and I watched the officers and the firefighters and the Legion members salute. Canadians towards their honored dead. And I wept, because for me it was the perfect day, and the road was open ahead of me, and I was with my son. And how much greater could it be than coming down the other side of the highway, a family? And how much worse could it be? The phenomenon of the Highway of Heroes began with the first Canadians who died in Afghanistan. On April the 18th, 2002, 4 members of the 3rd Battalion of the Princess Patricia's Canadian Light Infantry on a location now known as the Tarnak Farm were killed, sadly, by fire from a United States CF-18. Their names: Sergeant Mark Lewis, died at 29, Corporal Ainsworth Dyer, 24, Private Richard Green, 21, Private Nathan Smith, 27. They landed in Trenton. There was a brief service of repatriation, and then they were transported 172 kilometers, 107 miles, to downtown Toronto for the Centre for Forensic Sciences. On the first overpass on that day, 30 civilians and 2 police officers gathered. And from that day forward, the crowds grew, with each soldier whose body was repatriated. On September the 7th, the provincial government declared that section of the 401 as the Highway of Heroes. It also continues to be the Highway of Heroes down the Don Valley Parkway, Bayview Street, Bloor, Jarvis, Wellesley, Bay Street, and Grenville Street, to the Centre for Forensic Sciences. It wasn't an easy thing to allow the Canadian public to see the act of repatriation. I'm sure you remember the great struggle there was. It centered around the death of another Canadian soldier, the first female combat soldier killed in combat in Canadian history, Captain Nicola Kathleen Sarah Goddard. She was killed when 2 rocket-propelled grenades struck her light-armored vehicle in Pendleton.